Yeah, hopefully they'll cut them off soon. Mm. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna just pull us because I don't know what that's about. Oh my goodness. Turn on the damn mic. It's coming. I'm not gonna move it no further because we'll miss it.
6th Street and from Bush Boulevard all the way up to Fowler Avenue.
Now, I want to ask you specifically about June 23rd of 2024 and the early morning hours. Were you working on that shift?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Where were you assigned approximately around 4 a.m.?
Roughly, we were at the Truth Lounge, which would have been about 48th and Bush Boulevard.
And when you say Truth Lounge, is that Truth 18?
Yes, ma'am.
And what jurisdiction or what county is Truth 18 located in?
It's in Hillsborough County in the city limits of Tampa.
At some point when you were stationed at Truth 18, did you receive a call regarding a hotel, Home to Suites, and the Holiday Inn located on McKinley?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Approximately what time did you receive that phone call?
I believe it was about 4:40 in the morning.
And based on that phone call, what did you do?
They told us that there was basically someone shot. At that point in time, my squad responded priority up to Home 2 Suites.
And how you're dressed today, is that how you would have been dressed back then in the same type of uniform?
Yes, ma'am.
And what sort of vehicle did you drive back in June of 2024?
At that, I had an unmarked Dodge Charger.
And you said that not only yourself responded to that location, but that your unit did. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I had 6 officers working for me that night, and all of us responded there.
Okay. And were they in different vehicles?
Yes, ma'am.
And were any of those marked Tampa police officer vehicles?
Yes, all of those were marked.
Lights and sirens?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, before we go to that, what happened at the Home to Suites, I want to ask you, you said you were at Truth 18. Is that correct?
That's correct.
When you were at Truth 18, were there any incidences or disturbances at Truth 18 while you were there?
No, ma'am.
Had you had any information that a rapper from Jacksonville was going to be there that night?
At that point in time in the night, no. We knew he was in the area, but not at Truth 18.
And so there was nothing that was alerted or out of the ordinary to your knowledge at Truth 18 while you were there?
No, ma'am. It was just a normal crowd that we were trying to keep control of.
And then after you received that call at 4:40 for shots fired, what did you do at that point?
Like I said, I left the parking lot near Truth 18, proceeded basically westbound on Bush Boulevard and then northbound on 40th Street towards the hotels.
How far is Truth 18 from those hotels, the Home to Suites and the Holiday Inn that are located on McKinley?
I'd say roughly about 3 miles.
How quickly were you able to get to that location?
I don't know, less than 2-3 minutes.
What did you see when you responded to that location?
As I was coming northbound on 40th Street towards Fowler Avenue, I saw a dark, like silver Hyundai coming. That would have been westbound on Fowler Avenue towards 40th Street. At that point in time, the vehicle decided to make a left-hand turn onto 40th Street, drive over the curb, and go into the parking lot.
At that point, did you know anything about that vehicle?
No, ma'am.
What was the information that you received regarding the shots fired call?
Basically, there's just somebody shot in the parking lot, possibly in the hotel.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. So when you saw that erratic behavior by that gray or silver Hyundai, what did you do?
I proceeded after that car thinking it would possibly be involved. At that point in time, I still had my lights and sirens on, tried to stop that vehicle. We drove to the south side of Home 2 Suites, then back to the west, and came all the way around near the Holiday Inn and pulled up in the parking lot and finally stopped.
Okay. And what happened when that vehicle finally stopped?
That vehicle stopped. There was a female that got out of the driver's side, a male and a female got out of the passenger side, and they started yelling about helping their friend who was in the vehicle to my right that I noticed that was all shot up.
Okay. And was that the first time that you had noticed that vehicle that had all been shot up?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that located?
It was basically 10 feet away from where that vehicle stopped to my right.
Okay. And can you describe, I know that you said that there was a female that was yelling, as well as there were two other individuals. Was it, I think you said another female and a man, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there other units or other agencies that were responding to that location, as well as officers from the Tampa Police Department?
Yes, USFPD showed up.
And what did you do at that point?
At that point, I listened to them. They said, the shots. I looked over at the car, noticed that it had bullet holes in it. I went over to the car to check the person inside to see if there was any life or anything I could do for life-saving matters at that point in time. I noticed he was deceased at the time, and then saw a blood trail heading into the Holiday Inn.
And is that the standard protocol to focus on any sort of victims first?
Yeah, so we concentrate on life-saving efforts first and then go from there.
And can I ask you to describe the jury specifically? You said one victim, is that correct? Was there only one person in the vehicle that had the gunshot on the vehicle?
At that point, there was one subject in the vehicle, it was a male subject. It looked like he was going from the passenger seat into the back seat. He was laying down like between the center console and towards the back seat.
Was there anyone else in the vehicle or around the vehicle at that time?
At that point, no, all the doors were open and the vehicle was just him.
And you said that there were no signs of life, is that correct, from the individual that was inside the vehicle?
That's correct. He wasn't breathing and there's no pulse.
Okay. And then you said you noticed a blood trail, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, at this time, the state's going to introduce into evidence State's Exhibit 22A through M, as well as 3A through P, and State Exhibit 6A through Q.
Okay, any objection, Mr. Gonzalez?
No objection.
Any objection, Mr. Sonardi?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Wise?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Petratus?
No, Your Honor.
To be admitted.
Sergeant Corman, I'm going to direct you to the screen in front of you, and I'm going to start with 6A. Can you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Can you describe for the jury what is being depicted in 6A?
The gray vehicle to basically the left of the black Dodge, that's the vehicle I stopped with the doors open. And
This
then
vehicle right here that I'm pointing to in the center?
Yes, ma'am. And then the black Dodge is with the broken out window, and you can see the bullet holes in the front of the windshield.
And where these vehicles are placed, is that where the Dodge vehicle was when you rolled up on the scene following this gray vehicle right here?
Yes, ma'am. I would have been, when I stopped that car, I would have been behind that gray vehicle and then walked up to that vehicle.
And is that exactly where the gray vehicle stopped when it returned back to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said that there were 3 individuals in there, is that correct?
That's correct.
Were those individuals later left with the USF Police Department while you and members from your unit responded to the hotel?
Yes, we proceeded into the hotel because at that point in time, we didn't know if there was an active shooter in the hotel because of the blood trail or what was going on. So I asked USF PD to stand outside with the 3 people that were outside and to secure basically the scene from where the deceased was at.
I'm going to show you 6B, close-up of that black Dodge Charger. And is that, can you kind of see the individual in the red shirt right there?
Yes, ma'am. That would be the deceased and how he was laying in the vehicle.
And is what you described, is that correct?
Yes,
Kind of in between the seats.
That is correct.
And then 6E, what's that?
It's the same vehicle with the deceased laying in the vehicle, just from the driver's side.
And then obviously 6F, these doors are open later after crime scene is there. Is that correct?
That is correct. I would have went in the passenger door on the rear side just to check on pulse and see if there's any breathing at that time.
And that's what you did in this case. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And other than check for pulse, would you have disturbed anything else other than to check for signs of life of the victim?
No, ma'am.
After you checked for signs of life, would the car have been secured and protected by Tampa Police Department until crime scene could respond to document everything as it was?
At first, USFPD, because I left them with it, and then
Yes, sir.
we took over and secured the whole crime scene so nobody else touched it.
And as well as until the medical examiner gets here as well. Is that correct?
That is correct, ma'am.
And I think you said you made some observations of that Dodge Charger. I'm going to show you. Can you describe what's being shown in 6G?
It's just the rear of the Dodge, the busted out windows, and the shattered glass probably from the gunfire.
Did you make any other observations of that vehicle when you first rolled onto it?
No, ma'am. Other than, like I said, the blood trail leaving the car.
And where did that blood trail lead?
Led to the Holiday Inn.
And I'm going to, I previously showed you 3A through P. Was that a depiction of the different trail of blood leading from the car back to the Holiday Inn?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you. Can you tell us what's in 3A?
The Dodge vehicle that the deceased is in is to the left, and then you'll start to see the blood trail leave towards the hotel on the curb.
3B?
Just crime
I'm
scene,
gonna
crime scene pictures, and then number 1 and number 2 are showing where the trail is starting to go to.
Sergeant, if you need to stand up to point out something to the jury, you can.
Yes, ma'am.
And are they designated by where these yellow cones are then placed by crime scene?
Yes, ma'am. That's crime scene laying those out before they actually take the photos.
And then are close-ups taken so that you can actually see what you were pointing out? Is this what is being depicted in 3C?
That is correct, ma'am. That would have been, they do a farther back shot and then they take a close up, and then number 1 is where the first blood started from the vehicle. Yes, ma'am.
And then what is in 3D?
That will show it where you can see the blood trails going up this way. The droplets that are pointed out and towards the hotel.
Let me show you the close-up 3E. Again, can you point it out? Because I think this is a little bit better photo of that.
Yeah, I took that photo. These are all the blood. And it's a little dried out from what it actually looked like the time that I was there in the morning.
And does crime scene take a photograph so that people can orient where the location of the picture is and then follow it up with a close-up?
Yes, ma'am.
What is being shown in 3F?
That's just going to be the continuation. The number 2 droplet is down this way, and that's towards the hotel. So it's heading up the grass line towards the hotel.
And is that what's indicated with crime scene marker number 3?
Yes, ma'am.
3G,
Same thing. You see the droplets in the bottom corner.
3H,
Then you can see how the droplets are heading from 4 to 5. It's all these little drops that are heading all the way out towards the entrance of the hotel.
and then 3I, is that a close-up of marker number 4?
Yes, ma'am. It shows all the droplets again.
State 3J,
This is the sidewalk pathway towards the hotel.
3K, another photo to orient where 5 is.
Correct. And the front, you can obviously see the front of the hotel as far as the top end as it goes towards number 6.
Tell us what's in 3L.
See the heavy blood droplets that are continuing towards the front door of the hotel towards number 6. That's the Holiday Inn.
3M,
It's going to be the entryway into the hotel. And the droplets down by 6 and it continues on inside.
3-7.
This is going to be the entryway.
I'm sorry,
into the,
3N. I apologize.
will be the entryway into the hotel. You see the blood on the doors as they go in.
3O.
Yeah, it's just the entryway to the hotel.
And then 3P.
Be the entry into the lobby way to the hotel.
Now, you said after you determined that the victim was not breathing and there were no signs of life, that you and your unit responded to that hotel because of the blood trail. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am.
How many people were with you at that moment?
Would have been 4 to 5.
And those were officers all with Tampa Police Department, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And was there a USF police officer who was tasked with staying there with those 3 individuals that were in the gray car that identified themselves as being with the victim?
Yes, ma'am. I believe it was a USF sergeant that I talked to that was on scene.
And so tell us what happened as you are responding up to that hotel.
Like I said, my officers went into the hotel right away because we didn't know what was actually going on inside the hotel after we saw the blood trail. They proceeded in, noticed the heavy blood trail inside, and there was a blood trail that goes all the way around the corner towards room 117 and also to the elevators.
As you are proceeding through that hallway, do you continue to see all of those blood droplets that are also on the floor inside of the hotel?
Yes, ma'am.
And are there individuals, guests that are in that area?
There's guests in the whole hotel, yes.
Are some of the guests coming out of the doorways or asking what's going on?
At that time in the morning, no, we didn't have anybody coming out other than when we knocked on certain doors to see if anything was going on inside the rooms.
And why were you knocking on certain doors?
Like 117 actually had a fingerprint on the door, so we thought one of the people that were injured possibly were in that room. So we knocked on that room, and those residents came to the door and said that there was nobody in there that was injured. So we figured that they proceeded towards the towards the elevator and went up the elevator, so one of the floors.
Did you guys give me the photos back of the inside? Okay, got them. Judge, at this time, we would introduce into evidence State Exhibit 4A through S.
Any objection, Mr. Gonzalez?
No objection.
Mr. Sonardi?
No objection.
Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? Admitted.
Sergeant Portman, can you tell us what is in 4A? Let me zoom out.
Yeah, this is going to be the lobby. That's the front desk for the hotel. That's the blood trail leading around to the hallway towards the elevators.
And this is a hotel, the Holiday Inn, correct? Not the Home to Suites?
Yes, the Holiday Inn, correct.
And then 4B?
This is going to be entering into the hallway. After down towards the elevators, are going to be down to the right.
4C?
It's same bar. It's just more of that hallway heading towards the elevators.
4D?
It's the hallway wall That's towards the elevators.
4E.
That's gonna be the one room off to the left is 117 that we actually checked on where all the blood's going to see if that's where the blood was actually at before you get to the actual elevators.
And you said that you did check to see whether or not anyone was injured in that particular room. Is that correct? 117?
Yes, that's correct.
And was there anyone that was located in that area?
No, ma'am. There was people in there, but there was nobody injured in there.
And when you say people, guests at the hotel,
Yes, ma'am.
no one bleeding when you made contact with them?
There was nobody bleeding inside that room.
And then 4F,
It's just gonna be in front of 117 and 119.
4G,
That's gonna be right in front of 119 of that room.
and then 4H.
Is going to be the handle I was talking about with the blood and the fingerprint on it.
And that's what alerted you to 117. Is that correct?
That's correct. Like somebody tried that door handle, either trying to get away or trying to get help, one of the two.
4I,
This is gonna be where the elevators start and the blood trail in front of the elevators.
4J,
That's gonna be inside, I believe, the left-hand elevator that was in the last picture. And that's the inside of the elevator.
and did units then proceed to the other floors?
Yes, ma'am. Like I said, we actually believe because all the blood and everything going on, there could be a possible active shooter. So we were clearing the whole hotel. I had officers going on every single floor. And then two of my officers, Officer Conway and Officer Gale, actually got to the third floor and found two subjects on the ground actually bleeding heavily. And we're giving them medical assistance.
And what is in 4K? I don't think I asked you that yet.
That's this elevator one.
And then 4L,
It's going to be the blood on what floor. It looks like they're trying to hit floor 4.
4M,
It's more of the same. It's the blood that was inside the elevator at the time.
and you said that two of your officers proceeded to the third floor. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's when they came into contact with who?
They came in contact with these two subjects that were actually shot and injured.
And did you yourself proceed up to that floor?
I did eventually just to check on them to see if they needed anything else. And then once I found out what they needed, started to get fire rescue in there to give medical attention.
And then is 4N, is that a photo of the third floor?
Yes, ma'am. That'd be coming out of the elevator, and that's where the subjects were at, right there.
And when you checked on them, were those two subjects, did they appear to be, other than having been shot, were they still breathing and alive?
From my knowledge, yes, ma'am.
What did you do at that point?
After noticing that the hotel was basically safe or secure at that point in time, more officers started arriving on scene. I went outside to become the scene organizer, started getting crime scene tape up, having officers sit on every single floor in case people started coming out to basically secure this crime scene, and notifying our chain of command and getting homicide units to start heading to the scene.
And is that standard procedure that once a individual has been determined to be deceased, gunshot wounds, that the homicide unit would then take over the investigation?
If somebody is deceased on scene, yes, ma'am.
And you said that you did call homicide out there, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
I also want to show you some of these pictures. I think you already looked at them. 2A, what is that a photograph of?
That's going to be the Holiday Inn where everything occurred.
And the ones that we have talked about, that blood trail, I don't think we saw the whole entire building, but is that the entryway where the blood trail was leading up to?
Yes, ma'am. That would be the entryway and then that sidewalk leading back to the car.
And can you tell us where is the Holiday Inn in relation to Home to Suites?
They're on the same block. Anybody knows Fowler and 40th? They're right there on either the southwest corner of that intersection. And the Home to Suites is sitting more towards 40th Street, and then the Holiday Inn is more on Fowler Avenue.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit 2D. Do you see this photographic? Again, you can see the Holiday Inn. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The Holiday Inn is off to the left.
And you can see the La Quinta. Is that correct?
Correct.
And there is a roadway here. What roadway is there?
That would be Fowler Avenue.
And can you kind of orient us, like where you would go in this photograph to go back to where the Home to Suites is, where you originally came from?
The Home 2 Suites is going to be back over here, because 40th Street's this way, and then Fowler connects. So the Home 2 Suites is going to be here in South, and then the Holiday Inn is here.
Mrs. Jordan, you say 2D?
Yes, Judge, this is 2D.
Has states 2 been admitted yet?
Judge, I believe I introduced, I didn't, I apologize, Judge. We would introduce him to evidence states 2A through M.
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Sonardi?
No objection.
Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? Admitted?
I'm going to show you 2G. Again, is that a close-up of that same Holiday Inn?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, were there guests that were staying at that hotel when this incident occurred?
Yes, there was.
At some point, did the manager want to try to clean up the crime scene?
Yeah, when I first entered the hotel, he was coming around the corner with a bunch of towels. I had to tell him to stop.
Direct him that he was not to touch any of the evidence in that hallway, is that correct, or in
Yes.
the hotel?
Yes, ma'am. He wanted to clean up for the morning so that people come downstairs and see it.
Did you do anything else in furtherance of this investigation?
Other than securing the other crime scenes in the morning, because we had multiple scenes going on, there was other people at the hospital at Advent Health. There was another car on Fowler Avenue. It's just getting officers to those locations to secure those locations also.
So as a supervisor and a sergeant that was involved in this investigation, are you getting calls and briefed about other incidences that are connected to this?
Yes, ma'am.
So I first want to ask you about some of the other individuals at the hospital. Were you getting briefed on that there were other people that had received, or another person that had received a gunshot wound related to this case?
Yes, ma'am. Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office actually called into our dispatch and informed me there was another gunshot wound victim at Advent Hospital, and they had also stopped a individual there with a gun.
And is that because that Advent Hospital is in Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office jurisdiction?
Yes, ma'am.
And so based on that, they called Tampa Police Department because there was a connection to your investigation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Based on that, did you send officers from Tampa Police Department to respond to Advent Hospital so that contact could be made with that individual?
Yes, I did, ma'am.
And was that individual later determined to be Camilla Bentley?
I believe so, yes.
And you said that there was also, as part of that investigation, there was a vehicle, is that correct, that was also connected to the shooting that occurred where the victim was shot there at the Home to Suites and Holiday Inn area?
I can't say it was connected because I didn't do that part of the investigation, but there was a supposed vehicle that was abandoned on like Fowler Avenue area or Fletcher.
You were
Near the
alerted
hospital.
to that, is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And as a result, did officers either from the Tampa Police Department, homicide unit, or others respond from your office to that location?
Yes, ma'am, they did.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'm sorry. Your Honor, at this time, we pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez?
Good afternoon, Sergeant.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sergeant, you were surveilling, or your guys, your squad, part of your squad, was surveilling Truth 18 because it had been kind of a problem location, correct?
That is correct, sir.
Was this a normal surveillance activity for you guys on weekends or certain days?
I'll say it wasn't a surveillance. It was more or less trying to keep people out of certain parking lots because they would show up and cause problems and drinking in the lots and causing noise complaints that the citizens were complaining about. So we were addressing those concerns because we actually had trespass authorizations on those parking lots. So we're keeping those people out.
Right. Some of the units, though, were not actually in the parking lot, right? Present and observable. Some of them were in different locations.
That's fair, yes.
And you also, at that time or during that point in time, had received an email from the intelligence section that Charles Jones, Julio Foolio, was in town in Tampa, correct?
Correct.
And as a result of that, what is MDT.
It's just our message system on our computers.
Were you also being updated or provided intelligence or additional communications as it relates to Mr. Jones and potentially his whereabouts or where he was intending to go or where he had been?
Yes.
So the department, does everybody get those communications, the MDT communications?
Yes. Well, it just depends who's working that night. Because the MDT is a system that goes back from dispatchers to officers.
Right.
So
And everybody has access to it who's on duty at that particular time.
as long as their call signs being used to talk, because there's different ways of communicating on there. Either you can do a broad message to everybody in the department, or you can do individual officers.
Was there also law enforcement that were monitoring his social media activities as well?
One of my officers, Tyler, he actually knew of him and was monitoring it. Yeah. It wasn't done by the department.
Do you know whether there were others that were monitoring his social media as well?
Not that I'm aware of.
Could there have been other members, either through Officer Tyler or on their own, or as maybe advised by someone else, that could have been monitoring that social media activity?
There could have been, yes, sir.
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sonardi, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Wise, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Petratus, any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, State Redirect.
Just briefly, Sergeant Portman, is it unusual to receive intelligence from other jurisdictions, for instance, Jacksonville Gang Unit, as to intel if they have any information that known gang members may be in your jurisdiction?
No, ma'am. We get notifications from all kinds of jurisdictions all the time.
And that would just be to put you on alert or notice that something could happen, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And again, when you were stationed at Truth 18, there was nothing unusual or no disturbances happened at that time. Is that correct?
That's correct, ma'am. It was a normal crowd that was there all the time.
Did you have any knowledge that Julio Foolio, Charles Jones had been at Truth 18 that night? Did you even know that?
At the time that this happened, no.
Did
Didn't
you-
find that out till the next day.
Okay. But while you were there was no indication that him or his group caused any trouble. Is that correct?
No, ma'am.
All right. I have nothing further, Judge.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sergeant.
Thank
You're
you.
free to go. And Mr. Doherty, please make sure, since they've been admitted, that states exhibits 2, 3, 4, 6, and 22 are given to the clerk.
Yes, Judge. I'm giving that to you right now.
Okay,
So Mr. Harmon's going to use 2 of the next witness, but the rest of them I'm giving over.
that's fine. Okay, who's the next witness?
State will call Officer God Charles.
Madam Clerk?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, Mr. Harmon, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your name?
Officer God Charles, Godcharles,
How are you employed?
with the city of Tampa,
How long have you been with the city of Tampa?
a little over 3 years.
Do you have previous law enforcement experience?
Yes, in Philadelphia,
What agency?
Philadelphia Police Department,
When you worked at the Philadelphia Police Department, how many years did you work there?
a little over 5.
Did you do patrol duties?
Yes, sir.
Were you certified under state of Pennsylvania guidelines as a law enforcement officer?
Yes,
And here in Florida, are you certified by state of Florida guidelines as a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
Have you attended a police academy?
Yes, in Philadelphia.
And did you have to attend some type of a transitionary academy here in Florida?
Yeah, I did equivalency of training in Florida.
Do you have to maintain annual and yearly qualifications
Yes.
to maintain your certification as a law enforcement officer?
Yes.
I'll call your attention back to June 23rd of 2024. Were you on duty in the early morning hours?
Yes.
Where was your patrol district or the area that you covered at that time?
I'm in District 2 and Sector C. It's near USF area, USF Tampa.
Would that include the area hotel complex at the corner of McKinley, 40th and Fowler?
Yes.
Are you familiar with that complex?
Yes.
Did you have occasion to respond to that complex in the early morning hours of the 23rd of June, 2024?
Yes.
What was that in reference to?
It's about somebody being shot. It's a call for service for someone being shot.
Do you recall about what time you arrived?
Around 4:40 a.m.
Which entrance or how did you enter into the parking lot or the hotel complex?
off of 40th Street or McKinley
Yeah.
on the southeast entrance.
At that time, were you assigned to the same position you currently hold?
Yes.
And what was that position?
Patrol overnights.
When you arrived there, were there other law enforcement officers on scene?
When I first arrived, there was a patrol car there, and there's other officers on scene.
Did you make contact with anyone when you first arrived?
When I first arrived, I found a police car, and then I was told to go to the Fowler side and to make contact with USF police.
Your Honor, state with tender states Exhibit 1 for entry into evidence.
Okay.
No objection.
Mr. Snarty, any objection? Mr. Wise? Mr. Petraeus? Okay, be admitted.
Move to publish.
Yep.
Officer God Charles, did you enter into the complex through this southern entrance off of McKinley?
Yes.
When you entered into that part of the parking lot, which direction did you go in?
I entered and I ended up,
You can stand up if it will
Okay.
help you to demonstrate to the jury what you did.
so I entered this southeast location, parked my vehicle near the Sally Port. And there was another vehicle, a police vehicle already here, so I was trying to find where the scene was. And after I was told it was on the Fowler side up north, I took my vehicle and went on the west side of the building around and parked in front of the Holiday Inn Tampa around here.
So if I'm following you, just for anyone who may not have seen it with a monitor, you came in, you follow the tip of my pen, you're in this area here. You mentioned the Sally Port. Could that also be referred to as a portico or the entrance to the home to suites?
Yes,
And you said there was another officer in this area?
there's a police car there. I was looking for that officer because at that time I didn't know where the scene was.
And at some point, you are directed up here to this part of the complex,
Correct.
and you navigate around the west side of the complex to reach that area. Is that correct?
Correct.
When you arrive on the north end of the complex, are there officers in this area here?
Yes.
On the north end between the, well, let me ask you, is this the entrance to the Holiday Inn that I'm pointing at?
That's another portico, but yeah, it's the entrance.
Were there officers between that portico going to the east and an area over where I'm circling where there may have been a disabled vehicle?
Yes.
Did you make contact with those officers?
Yes.
Was there a University of South Florida Police Department officer there?
Yes.
Did you make contact with him,
Yes.
speak with him?
Yes.
Did he offer to assist?
Yes.
Now, when you arrived, there was a disabled vehicle at some part of that parking lot, correct?
Correct.
Is that vehicle, or does it appear to you to be a black in color Dodge Charger?
Yes.
Now, between that vehicle and the entrance to the Holiday Inn that I've just pointed out, was there another vehicle?
Yes.
What type of vehicle was that?
The Hyundai Sonata.
And did you make contact with some individuals that may have been near that vehicle?
Yes.
Was one of those Miss Turner?
Yes.
And was another one Miss Randolph?
Yes.
And was there a male Robert Howard?
Yes.
Did you make contact with all three?
Yes.
Did you speak with them?
Yes.
How long were you in that area?
So I got there around 4:40. I left around 6:30 a.m. So I'd say probably close to an hour, maybe 40 minutes in that area.
Were there other officers arriving during that time period?
Yes.
The area around the disabled black Dodge Charger, was that area secured by other officers?
Yes. I probably spent less time up front. I think my total time there would probably be an hour or so. I'd say probably maybe 30 to 40 minutes up there with them. But I also spent a decent amount of time later south.
Did there come a time when you were summoned to a different part of the hotel complex?
When I first came in, I was summoned to the Fowler side. I later went looking for the fired cartridge casings. At that point in time, we hadn't found any.
Okay. So when you went to look for those, did you do that on your own volition, or did someone ask you to do that?
I spoke to my Sergeant Portman, who said that we haven't found it, and I volunteered to go look for it.
Okay. Did you go to another part of the complex?
Yes.
What part of the complex did you travel to?
So I went east and then south along the Home 2 Suites by Hilton, and then found the fired cartridge casings near that portico, near where I initially parked.
So when you say you went east, were you parked generally in the area where the tip of my pen is over here by the entrance to the Holiday Inn?
Yes.
Did you travel along this north end of the parking lot?
Yes, I've traveled by foot.
Oh, you traveled by foot, not in your car?
Correct.
Okay, so you would have walked to the east. Did you then walk to the south along the eastern edge of the Home 2 Suites?
Correct.
And then around to the south end of the Home 2 Suites?
Correct.
In this area here, I believe you've already told us is an entrance to that hotel?
Yes.
When you got to that area, you said you were able to locate shell casings.
Yes.
Did they appear to you to be shell casings that were consistent with being fired by a handgun?
Yeah, they were pistol casings.
Did you ever have a chance to look at them or bend down with a flashlight to determine what caliber they were?
I know I determined that they were smaller in pistol size. I wasn't able to see the exact caliber.
When you arrived in that area, did you also notice any damage to that south end of the Home 2 Suites?
One of the windows was shattered.
Your Honor, we would tender states 5A through Y for admission into evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Gonzalez?
No objection, Your Honor.
Mr. Sonardi?
No objection.
Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? Admitted?
Publishing states 5, A is an alpha. As you arrived on foot down the eastern side of the home to suites, would you have arrived in this area here where my finger's pointing at the bottom of that photograph?
Yes, that's the south end portico.
And the area to the lower left third of the photograph, would that be the actual portico and the entrance to the hotel?
Yes.
Stage 5, B is in Bravo. As you walk across that southern end, would you see what's reflected in this photograph?
Yes.
And this again would be the portico?
Yes.
Stage 5C, just to the east, southeast of the portico, did you notice some items laying in the street?
Yes, it appeared to be plastic pieces from a car accident, like a fender bender.
So would it be fair to say those would have been consistent with two cars colliding?
Yeah, it looks like a minor accident. The pieces of plastic would come up from a car.
Stage 5D is in Delta. Does this photograph reflect the windows on the south side of the hotel and the portico that were damaged?
Yes, it should be the third one on the right.
So third from the left or third from the right?
Third from the left.
From the left. So here?
Yes.
Did you later enter the hotel to investigate that damage?
Yes.
What is on the opposite side of the windows?
There was like a white blind and then a gym inside of there.
A gym?
Yes.
States 5E is an echo. Now, in this photograph, is the camera facing back to the east with the portico on the left of the photograph?
Yes.
States 5F. Does this photograph appear, does the camera that is recording this photograph appear to be facing north, just north, slightly northeast?
Yes.
And is the western side of the home to suites reflected in that photograph?
Yes.
Now, what appear to you to be pistol caliber shell casings that you found, do you see an area reflected anywhere in the photograph where some of those casings were located?
It would be in front of that white Lexus and then
Right.
to the right of the white Lexus.
Okay, so just off the right side of this photograph.
Correct.
States 5H is in hotel. Would that area then be to the right of the front of the vehicle?
Correct.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. States 5I is in India. Does this photograph depict underneath the portico?
Yes.
Officer, from the time that you arrived, did you take precautions and efforts to secure that area where you saw the shell casings?
Yes.
And approximately how long were you in that area of the complex?
I'd say probably another 40 minutes
Another 40 minutes from the time you got down there?
estimated. Yeah. So from 4:40 to 6:30 is my extent of the call.
So when you say your extent of the call at 6:30, do you leave the scene?
Yes.
While you are there from 4:30 to 6:30, are there at times guests of the hotel attempting to leave?
Yes.
And do you take precautions to escort them around any potential evidence?
Yes.
Are there employees of the hotel arriving possibly for day shift?
Yes.
And do you again take precautions to try to keep them out of the scene where there may be potential evidence?
Yes.
states 5, Y is in Yankee. Does this photograph again depict that apparent automobile collision damage evidence? Okay. And at this point, are the items marked with yellow cones?
Yes.
Are those items that you recognize and have seen before?
Yes.
Are they items that are utilized by crime scene investigators or technicians to document a crime scene?
Yes.
I have one moment here.
Yes.
May I approach the clerk, Your Honor?
Yes.
You mentioned earlier, Officer Godcharles, that you had entered the home to suites and at some point had gone into that gymnasium area behind the window damage.
Yes.
Were you searching for something or investigating anything?
I was looking for bullets or bullet fragments.
Did you find anything?
No.
How long were you in the gym?
Less than 10 minutes.
Did you meet with a manager or some employee by the front desk?
An employee let me into the rooms.
The damage that you saw to the window, did it appear to have been caused by a firearm or fire from a gun?
It looks like a bullet struck the window frame and shattered the glass.
You have one moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
Your Honor, I'll tender the witness for cross.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Officer Godchild, did you interview witnesses?
Yes.
And those would have been the witnesses that were inside the Hyundai?
Yes.
One of those witnesses was Robert Howard, correct?
Correct.
And you have previously described your interaction with him as him being dismissive, correct?
Your Honor, I would object.
What's the legal basis?
Hearsay.
You can answer that question, but you can't get into the substance of what the interview was. You can answer that question.
To restate the question, please.
You've indicated that Mr. Howard was dismissive of your interview with him, correct?
I believe I said he was uncooperative.
Without getting into what information, did he provide you any information about the shooting?
Objection, same objection.
You can answer that question, overruled.
He stated that he heard
Okay,
gunshots.
listen, don't tell us what he said. The question was, did he provide you any information about the shooting? Yes or no?
Yes,
Was that information extensive or general?
Objection,
I'm gonna
hearsay.
sustain the objection as to that question.
Did you speak to Adjoya Randolph as well?
yes,
Would you characterize that interview essentially the same as it relates to Mr. Howard's attitude?
yes,
Did you also speak to Armani Turner?
yes,
Would you characterize that interview of much of the same that you encountered with Mr. Howard and Ms. Randolph?
yes,
Did Mr. Howard, without telling me what, did Mr. Howard provide you with any information concerning anything other than what occurred that night?
Objection.
I'm gonna sustain the objection.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Sonari? Any questions?
Officer Gattros, the bottom line is pursuant to your interview, Howard, Randolph, and Turner, they were uncooperative. Is that yes or no?
I would say yes. Yes,
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wise?
No question.
Mr. Petratus? Okay, very good. Redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, may this witness be excused?
You may, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You are free to go. All right, state who's your next witness.
State Police Officer Zachary Conway.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is possibly the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, officer. Would you state your name for the record, please?
My name is Zachary Conway.
And how long have you been employed with the Tampa Police Department?
This will be my 4th year at Tampa Police Department.
Prior to your employment with TPD, did you have any other law enforcement experience?
Yes, prior to Tampa Police Department, I was also employed with New Orleans Police Department for about 5 years as well.
And in that capacity, did you have an opportunity to investigate a variety of types of crimes?
Yes, ma'am.
On the early morning hours of June 23rd of 2024, were you working in your capacity as a Tampa Police Department officer?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you receive a call for service that you responded to about 4:40 a.m.?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of that call for service?
The initial notes that we got were vehicles circling around the parking lot of a Holiday Inn at the intersection of Fowler Ave and McKinley Drive, and additional callers while we were en route told us that there were also gunshots that were also heard in the area as well.
Now, prior to your receiving that call, earlier on your shift when you had your briefing or your original meeting with the rest of the members of your unit, had you received some information about a particular musical artist coming to Tampa?
Yes, we did.
And did that information also include potential risks or of harm associated with that person coming from opposing groups?
Yes, ma'am.
With that information, did you specifically do anything?
Myself specifically, no.
Did other members of your squad do something?
Yes, ma'am. Officers Costanzo and Officer King tried to maintain surveillance on the person that was mentioned in the emails, just to keep an eye on him throughout the night.
And those are other members that also work with the Tampa Police Department.
Yes, ma'am.
By utilizing this information that you had received, what was the purpose?
It was basically just to get ahead of anything that might happen. All that we were really told was just that the victim, Mr. Jones, had I guess bad relationships with some other local groups as well.
Now, the information you actually did receive, did it specifically identify the individuals that Jacksonville Sheriff's Office were concerned about that were coming to Tampa opposing the victim?
Opposing the victim, not exactly. The only person I remember being specifically mentioned by name in that email was Mr. Jones.
And once that information had been received by you all, did you continue about your shift in the regular course of your duties every day that you normally would?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, once you received the call for service, did you actually respond to the Home 2 Suites?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you familiar with that area?
Yes, ma'am. It was my zone for about 2 years.
And did you know where to go at the time that you had actually arrived?
Yes. Based on the information that we got in the call, I circled around behind the Home 2 Suites, behind the Holiday Inn. It's just one giant parking lot that encircles the entire, I guess, complex. You have 3 different hotels in that area. And by the time I circled around to the front, which is where I ended up meeting with Sergeant Portman and Officer Godcharles, that's also where we found Mr. Jones.
Now, you described a little bit of the layout of the hotels. Did the 3 hotels shape almost a U?
Yes, ma'am.
But the parking lots themselves are all connected.
Correct.
When you actually get to the area that you see Sergeant Portman or Mr. Jones's vehicle, did you have an opportunity to see the vehicle that Mr. Jones was in?
Yes, it was a black Dodge Charger. It was stopped in the middle of the lane of travel in the parking lot in the northeastmost corner of this parking lot, right on the intersection of McKinley and Fowler Ave.
And was that the resting place that vehicle was from the time that you arrived and then ultimately when crime scene got there to process it, et cetera?
Yes, ma'am.
Upon arrival, what observations of the vehicle itself did you make?
Multiple bullet holes going through the front windshield as well as through the body of the car. When I inspected the vehicle and even more, that's when I found Mr. Jones inside.
And were you able to, or were you tasked with doing anything at the vehicle, or did you have another assignment?
I wasn't tasked with anything specifically at the vehicle itself. Sergeant Portman initially told us to go ahead and start securing the scene. I went back to my car to get crime scene tape. Upon coming back, and I handed the tape off to another officer. I can't remember who, but that was when I noticed the blood trail going from the vehicle that Mr. Jones was found in, going to the front of the Holiday Inn.
Based on the injuries that you observed at the vehicle to Mr. Jones, or the observations you made of that vehicle, did you believe that another individual or other individuals had then made that blood trail towards or into the hotel?
Yes. From the way that Mr. Jones was positioned in the car, it looked as if he was originally seated in the front passenger seat, and during the incident, he had tried to move from the front passenger seat to the back seat. He was positioned directly over the top of the center console with his head facing towards the back seat, while his legs were still in the front seat, in the front passenger seat area.
As you look away from that vehicle and back towards the hotel, is that the direction at which you see the blood trail leading?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you and other officers with your department have an opportunity to follow that trail?
Yes.
Where did that lead you, at least from the vehicle to the interior of the home suites?
The blood trail initially went from the vehicle that Mr. Jones found in, through the sidewalk to the down the sidewalk to the north of Holiday Inn, through the front door, through the lobby, and then turned east down the first floor hallway, stopped maybe about 3 or 4 doors down, then circled back and came back to the elevator. And that's where we followed the blood trail to.
And during this time, are you also seeing blood not only on the ground, but on the doors and the walls?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know whether there is still an outstanding shooter at the time that you and the other officers actually make entry into the hotel following this trail?
At that time, that was a possibility.
Did you have an opportunity yourself and with the other officers to then make your way to the 3rd floor of that hotel?
Correct.
And did you utilize the elevator to do so?
Yes, we did.
Upon exiting the elevator, what were the observations you made?
As soon as we exited the elevator and turned immediately to our right towards the main hallway, that was when we found the other 2 victims, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Norris, directly in front of us at the T-junction of the hallway.
Now, at the time you initially responded, did you actually know the identity of the individual in the vehicle or the individuals that were on the floor, Mr. Edwards and Mr. Norris, or is that information you later learned?
That was information that we confirmed later on.
And at the time that you responded, were you equipped and Officer Gale equipped with a body-worn camera?
Yes, ma'am.
Having shown the defense states exhibit number 91, the state seeks to admit states 91, Your Honor.
No objection?
Mr. Sonardi?
No objection.
Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? Be admitted.
Sir, are you able to see what's depicted in states number 91 here?
Yes, ma'am.
And is this the observation that you made when you exited the elevator towards your right?
Correct. That's Mr. Norris laying down on the right in the black hoodie and black sweatpants. That's Mr. Edwards, and Mr. Norris is the gentleman in the white shirt and blue jeans on the left.
Okay, so allow me to clarify. The individual to the right in this State's Exhibit 91 is someone that you later identified as Mr. Edwards,
Correct.
and the individual on the left was someone you later identified as Mr. Norris.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you first make contact with these 2 individuals, what are the observations that you make about their persons?
Obviously, observed the injury to Mr. Norris's right shoulder there. Officer Gale immediately started to tend to him, placed a tourniquet on his arm.
Could you immediately tell that the injury to Mr. Norris was a gunshot wound based on your training and experience?
Based on my training, yes. And also just from the amount of blood, that's pretty typical with gunshot wounds in my experience.
Is that paired with what you saw outside of the hotel before you actually came up?
Correct.
And the injury to Mr. Edwards, if you recall?
Mr. Edwards told me that he had been shot in the upper right arm. Just based on the amount of blood, his whole right sleeve on his hoodie was completely soaked in blood. So he basically he pointed to where he had been shot. It was kind of the upper right arm, and that's where I placed the tourniquet up as high as I could into his armpit.
Could you see when you're actually placing that tourniquet how many gunshot injuries there were at that time?
I counted 3, right exactly where he pointed to them in his upper right arm.
You indicated that you applied a tourniquet. Can you just explain to the jury what that is?
Tourniquet is just a device that we use in order to stop heavy blood loss. Typically, you try to do it you try to place it as close as you can to any major arteries as you can, so you can try and stop the flow of blood so that they don't pass out or expire from blood loss.
Did you specifically apply one to Mr. Edwards as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And before actually even making these medical rescue efforts, did you search the individuals that you located on the ground, Mr. Norris and Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I did pat down Mr. Edwards for any weapons. I didn't find anything on him, and Officer Gale did the same for Mr. Norris.
And there were no weapons of any kind located?
No, not that we found.
Now, did you also stand by and attend to both of these individuals while you waited for EMS to arrive?
I was primarily focused on Mr. Edwards, while again, Officer Gale was dealing with Mr. Norris.
So you just divided up your attention. Each of you took one of the victims.
Right.
When you attempted to speak to Mr. Edwards, was there any kind of response, or was there difficulty responding? Tell me about the communication you were actually having.
I was trying to figure out, while I was trying to talk to Mr. Edwards, trying to at least keep him conscious and to try to get some more information as far as what had happened. I was able to confirm that he was the he was the driver in the vehicle that we had found outside, that they had been shot at. But as far as who did it or any kind of description as far as who had done it, I wasn't able to get that on scene. He was periodically starting to lose consciousness while I was still trying to talk to him on scene.
What was Mr. Norris's demeanor?
Mr. Norris, I mean, he was in pain, but he was also calm when speaking with Officer Gale. Most I could overhear from his conversation with Officer Gale was that he was in the back seat of the vehicle at the time of the shooting, and he had been asleep when it occurred.
That same vehicle,
Yes, ma'am.
the black Charger.
Correct.
And this is while they are excited and making these statements to you.
Yes, ma'am.
When you first got off of the elevator, was Mr. Edwards screaming?
Yes, Mr. Edwards was screaming.
When you first got off of the elevator, was Mr. Norris screaming or crying?
I believe he was crying when we got off the elevator. Yes.
Despite having applied a tourniquet to Mr. Edwards' arm, he was still losing consciousness while you were there with him.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ultimately later respond to the hospital after both victims were transported to Tampa General?
Correct.
And were you able to ascertain that there were additional injuries to Mr. Edwards, not just the 3 shots you saw?
Yes, ma'am.
And were those additional gunshot wounds?
Yes. Tampa General staff told me that there were 3 additional gunshot wounds further up on Mr. Edwards' shoulder that I couldn't see because of the hoodie.
You also had contact with Mr. Edwards at the hospital as well?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have an opportunity during your contact with Mr. Edwards to complete a full interview with him?
Yes, ma'am.
Was he still being treated by medical staff?
Yes, he was still in the process of being treated.
And did you inquire with Mr. Edwards about his events or the events that he had been involved in for that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Was he responsive to your questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you inquire with him about the information you had from the flyer, so the specific locations that you believed victim Charles Jones to have gone that evening?
Yes, ma'am.
And was Mr. Edwards responsive to those questions?
Yes, ma'am.
When you inquired about what actually happened at the hotel itself, was Mr. Edwards also responsive to what happened at the Homicide Suites?
Yes, ma'am.
After the transport of Mr. Edwards and Mr. Norris to the hospital, before they were transported, were their clothing items required to be removed?
Yes, on scene, TFR personnel removed their clothing on scene.
And were you still standing by for that event?
Yes, ma'am.
After they had been transported, did those clothing items remain there at the place that you actually found Mr. Edwards and Mr. Norris?
I believe so. They did not have those items at the hospital when I spoke with them.
I'm going to show you what's already been admitted as states 4 in. Can you see that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Is this the observation that you made when you exited the elevator to your right, absent the victims that were placed there?
That's correct.
And in 4-0, having started the process, it would appear, of crime scene going through this area, can you explain to me what that white item is at marker 14?
The white item by marker 14, that would have been the shirt that Mr. Norris would have been wearing on our first contact with him.
So each of these markers throughout the hallway, do those depict some item of evidence that would have been left behind after the victims had been transported?
I believe so, yes.
When we see in the photograph here, for example, in the center or in 4P, maybe that's a better look. These gloves, are those were those present when you actually first arrived, or were those something that you saw EMS utilizing?
Those have been used by EMS.
And in 4Q, again, the clothing items that are depicted here, were those removed while you were present with Mr. Norris and Mr. Edwards?
Yes, ma'am.
And same in 4R. Was this the black hoodie that you had previously described?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you have an opportunity to see the volume of blood when you were tending to Mr. Edwards on scene?
I was able to see a good bit of blood coming off of his right hoodie sleeve for sure. Yes, ma'am.
Was it so the hoodie itself was wet with blood?
Yes, ma'am.
And the blood that we see in these surrounding areas, also, any reason to believe it would have come from anything else other than Mr. Norris and Mr. Edwards there at that scene?
I wouldn't be able to find any other source.
Your Honor, may I have one moment?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness.
Okay, very good. Mr. Gonzalez, any questions?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Sonardi?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? All right, may this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, you're free to go. All right, State, who's your next witness?
Officer Miguel Blazini.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give in this case will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I did.
Okay, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your full name for the record.
My name is Officer Miguel Blasini Franceschi. I normally just go by Officer Blasini, and I work for the Tampa Police Department.
How long have you worked with the Tampa Police Department?
As of right now, coming up to 8 years.
Were you working on June 23rd of 2024?
Yes,
On that day in the early morning hours, did you respond to Home to Suites located at 11606 McKinley Drive?
I did.
Why did you respond to that location?
We were requested by my supervisor at the time to respond to that location due to an incident that was occurring.
Approximately what time did you arrive at Home to Suites?
Approximately about 5:55 in the morning.
Were there already law enforcement personnel from the Tampa Police Department already on scene?
Yes, there was.
Had a perimeter and crime scene tape already been put up?
Yes, there was.
What were you tasked to do when you arrived?
Upon arrival, I was asked to go check some of the hotels in the area to see if we can retrieve some kind of video surveillance.
Did you go to the Holiday Inn Hotel?
I did.
And did you make contact with the hotel manager, Melvin Locklear?
I did.
Did he provide you with access to the video surveillance?
Yes, he did, and he assisted at my request as he kind of controlled the video surveillance while we were reviewing it.
And were you able to have him rewind to the time when the shooting occurred?
Yes, I did.
And are you visibly watching the footage as he's having it pulled up for you?
Yes.
And did you note anything of note during that review?
During that review, I did notice a dark colored vehicle pass by the front of the hotel and make its way around the backside of the hotel.
Did you notice anything unusual with that dark colored vehicle?
No, I did not.
And then at some point, did you see a vehicle that had some kind of damage on it?
Yes, the next footage I saw was facing towards the east of the front of this hotel. I observed another dark vehicle with smoke pluming out of it.
What did you see after you saw the smoke coming out of the vehicle?
The vehicle came to a rest between the Holiday Inn and I believe it's La Quinta next door to it. From that point, I observed two male subjects run out of the vehicle and run towards the entrance of the Holiday Inn.
And is there multiple cameras at that Holiday Inn?
Yes, there is.
And you said that you're reviewing the video footage that is reflected from cameras that are outside the surrounding the hotel of the Holiday Inn. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Did you also, you said you saw two individuals, is that correct?
Yes.
Can you give us their ethnic background?
There were two black males. One looked a little heavier set, while the other one looked thin build.
And you said that they ran into the Holiday Inn, is that correct?
Yes, they did.
Does the Holiday Inn also have interior cameras that you can see the hallways of the Holiday Inn?
Yes, there are cameras there.
After you viewed that video footage, did you ask to see the video footage from the interior of the hotel?
I did.
And could you track where those two individuals were when they came into the hotel?
Yes, I did.
And what was their pathway?
Their path of travel, as soon as they came in, they bypassed the front desk area. Upon passing the front desk, they made an immediate left down the hallway where there were rooms. They attempted to knock at a room to try to gain entry. They weren't allowed entry to there. From there, I observed them go into the elevator. That elevator took them up to the third floor. They exited that elevator, went around the hallway to the right. And at that point, I observed the heavier set male who appeared to have wounds to the upper torso of his body collapse. The thin build male kind of stood by him, kind of pacing back and forth.
And after you located and reviewed that video footage, did you then brief someone in the homicide department with Tampa Police Department as to what you had seen?
Yes, I did.
At some point, did you also help secure the perimeter outside of the hotel?
I did.
And when you were securing the perimeter, did you make any sort of observations of any damage to any of the property or vehicles?
Yes. Where I secured it was going to be I believe it was the backside of La Quinta. While we were securing that perimeter, I observed a white minivan that appeared to have a bullet hole around the license plate of it.
And again, did you alert that to someone in homicide or somebody in crime scene?
Yes, I did.
And were there photographs that would have been taken by the crime scene technicians of that damage?
Yes, there were.
And did you know whether or not that was a rental vehicle or not?
At the moment, I did not know if it was a personally owned vehicle or rental at the time that we observed that bullet hole.
At some point, were you able to identify the owner of that vehicle?
Yes, if I recall correctly, it was a rental vehicle, and we were able to locate the renter to that vehicle that was staying at the hotel.
And was that Nestor Agramonte?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, we pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Sonardi,
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Petratus, and Mr. Wise.
No questions.
Okay, very good. May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You're free to go.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
No. Our next witness.
State calls Detective David Alverson.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this class will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your name?
Detective David Alverson.
How are you employed, sir?
I'm currently employed as a homicide detective with the Tampa Police Department.
Detective Alverson, do you have prior law enforcement experience?
I do.
Can you tell us what that involved?
I was a police officer, field training officer, and patrol sergeant for the town of Johnston, Rhode Island.
Johnson, Rhode Island?
Yes, sir.
When you were in Rhode Island and working as law enforcement, were you certified and qualified under Rhode Island state guidelines for law enforcement?
Yes, I was.
When you came here to Florida, did you have to go back to the police academy, or how did that work?
I attended the state of Florida, the equivalency of training academy for the state of Florida, basically to get myself certified with specific Florida certification required by the CJSDC.
Once you completed that, did you begin employment with TPD, or did you have any other employment?
No, I was pretty much immediately hired by TPD after being certified in the state of Florida.
How long have you been with TPD, Tampa Police Department?
About 15 years.
15 years. And how long in the homicide division?
About 5.
Have you maintained, or do you maintain, any type of certifications or qualifications as far as your law enforcement status here in Florida on an annual basis?
Yes, I do.
Do you receive training? Do you attend training in reference to your job as a homicide detective?
Yes, I do.
I'll call your attention, Detective, to the early morning hours of June 23rd, 2024. Were you summoned to a homicide scene here in the city of Tampa?
Yes, I was.
Where were you coming from when you arrived at that scene?
I was called from my home.
Who summons you to that scene?
Detective Sergeant Rachel Cholnick.
And for homicide, is that the way it works? If it's after hours or before hours, are you summoned normally from your residence?
Yes.
So if it's in the middle of the night, early morning, and you're at home asleep, you're going to get woke up and told you need to come to a scene.
That's correct.
Is that what happened here?
Yes, sir.
Detective, Sergeant Detective Rachel Cholnick, is she one of the supervisors of the homicide division?
Yes, she is.
Was there at the time another sergeant detective who was also a supervisor of homicide?
Yes.
And did those two supervisors rotate duties?
Yes, they do.
When you arrived on scene, do you remember what time it was?
It was approximately 6:50 in the morning.
When you got there, arrived there, were there other officers there?
Yes, there were.
Were there uniformed officers there?
Yes, there were.
Were there detectives there?
Yes.
Were there crime scene detectives or technicians there, or did they come shortly thereafter?
I don't recall if they were on scene upon my arrival, but if they weren't, they would have came shortly thereafter.
So when you arrive at the scene, what do you do first?
First thing that I do once I arrive at the scene is I enter the scene from the northmost portion of the scene and reported to Detective Sergeant Cholnick so I could get briefed on what investigations had been conducted prior to homicide's arrival on the scene. That way I could best assist and triage what needed to be done in my role as the scene investigator.
Other than you and Sergeant Cholnick, were there any other homicide detectives there at the scene?
Yes, Detective Matthew Kirkpatrick, who assisted with the scene investigation, was on scene at that time.
Was Detective Juan Ramos there on scene?
When I initially arrived, he was not. He was at another location where a vehicle had been, an involved vehicle had been recovered in another location that was not there at that scene.
All right. Was that a Nissan Altima?
I believe so, yes.
At some point while you were there that morning, did Detective Ramos come on scene?
Yes, he did.
Were you given an assignment by Detective Sergeant Rachel Cholnick in this case?
Yes, I was.
What were you assigned to?
I was assigned as one of the scene detectives.
Was Detective Kirkpatrick assigned to assist you in some way?
Yes, he was.
Other than working the scene, were you asked to do other or fulfill other roles in this case?
Later in the investigation, there was a vehicle that I assisted with seizing as evidence, and then as well as conducting the interview in Jacksonville, Florida.
So in this investigation, you worked the scene, were you summoned to a residence in Polk County at some point?
Yes, I was.
And did you also, with Detective Kirkpatrick, travel to Jacksonville?
Yes, sir.
I want to ask you about the homicide unit at the Tampa Police Department, just briefly. So you were given this assignment. Was there another detective who was assigned as the lead detective in the case?
Yes, there were.
Who was that?
Detective Juan Ramos.
And was Detective Aaron Campbell also assigned in some capacity to either assist him or to be a co-lead in the case?
Yes, he was. He was assigned as the assistant lead investigator.
These assignments of duties or division of duties, is that something that's common with homicides and the treatment of homicides by the unit, by the homicide unit?
Within the Tampa Police Department, yes, that's the way we're set up.
Would it be fair to say the unit works as a team when investigating a homicide?
Very much so, yes, sir.
In this case, you were assigned as one of the two scene detectives.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
After being assigned to that or given that assignment, did you at some point walk the scene or at least observe the scene?
Yes.
Did it come to your attention that there was a disabled motor vehicle in some portion of the scene that may have firearm damage to it?
Yes.
Did you go to the area of that motor vehicle?
Yes, sir.
So I'm going to show you a few photographs. This is state 7, is it correct? It's not it. Okay. Your Honor, we would tender state 7A through 7, I believe it's T. 7A is an alpha through T is in tango. Read the photographs.
Mr. Gonzalez, any objection?
No objection.
Mr. Sonardi? Mr. Wise? Mr. Petratus? Admitted.
Publishing state 7A. Detective, is this the disabled motor vehicle?
Yes, it is.
And did you see damage to that motor vehicle that was consistent with gunfire?
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with damage to motor vehicles from gunfire?
Yes, sir.
Had you seen that in other investigations as a homicide detective?
Yes, I have.
Have you seen that in other investigations where you were working in a law enforcement capacity, in some other capacity, either patrol or some other investigative capacity?
Yes, sir.
State 7B, B is in Bravo. Do you see damage to the windshield of the motor vehicle?
Yes, I do.
In fact, are there several spots where there appears to be damage?
Yes, sir.
And is there a overall or holistic damage to that windshield of cracking?
Yes, sir.
The spots that are marked by the yellow markers in the scene, first of all, what are those yellow markers?
Those are evidence markers with scales. They're a sticker, basically, that's used specifically for the purpose of marking things on a surface, such as a motor vehicle.
When you say scale, what do you mean by that?
So a photographic scale. So if you do a close-up photo of the damage, in this case, with the sticker, it'll give you a measurement of that damage based on the scale within the camera itself when you view the picture.
And I'm zooming in a little bit on some of the damage to the front of the windshield. The white markings with the center hole, would that appear to you to be damage left by a bullet or a projectile that's passing through the windshield?
Yes, sir.
State 7C. What portion is reflected of the Dodge Charger in this photograph?
It's the front windshield as well as the hood of the vehicle.
So zoom in on the hood. Do you see damage to the sheet metal on the hood that you believe is consistent with damage caused by gunfire?
Yes, sir.
Would these oval or streak-like divots, would that be the damage?
Yes, sir.
Okay, where I'm pointing with my pen.
Yes, sir.
State 7D as in Delta. Is this a portion of the windshield?
Yes, it is, sir.
And these items down here on the bottom would be the windshield wiper, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Same holes we were talking about earlier in the glass?
Yes, sir.
I want to draw your attention to this hole now in the middle of the screen. Do you see red substance on the inside of the streaking down on the inside of the windshield?
I do, sir.
Does that appear to be some type of substance that was liquid and may have dried?
Yes, sir.
Would that be consistent in your experience with blood?
It is.
And around the hole going into the windshield, do you see red substance?
Yes, I do.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. State 7G is in golf. Would this be the front hood?
Yes.
Front hood of the car? All
Yes,
right.
sir.
So down here on the bottom of the photograph, the bottom of the hood, we see, would you agree with me that appears to be damage?
Yes, sir.
Then we have this sticker crossing across the seam of the hood and the front grille. And then over here we have the same. Is that marking damage?
Yes, it is.
Okay. When a car like this is transported to your impound lot, and this was transported to your impound lot at some point,
Yes, it was.
is there some item that's placed over that seam to prevent it from coming open and to mark it as being closed at the time that the collection of the vehicle occurred?
Yes, there is.
Do you see that item in this photograph?
I do. It's on the left side of the photograph, the white square that says evidence on it.
And that's utilized to ensure the integrity of the car is maintained during transport?
Yes, sir. Those are placed on there pretty much anywhere where there's a seam, the doors, the hood, the trunk, stuff of that nature to ensure that the vehicle remains sealed to protect the continuity of evidence.
State 7H, which is in hotel. Would this be the passenger side of the car?
Yes, sir.
Were there impacts to the passenger side of the car and also to the window, the passenger side window?
Yes, there was, sir.
Did they appear to be or have been caused by gunfire?
Yes, sir.
Do we see those white evidence markers on the seams of the doors?
Yes, sir. There's one at the seam in between the front door, basically the B pillar of the vehicle, and then one at the would be basically the C pillar at the seam of the rear door.
Okay. This would be the B pillar
That's correct.
and C pillar.
Yes, sir.
Do we see damage here on the front of the front passenger door?
Yes, sir.
Damage on the rear passenger door,
Yes, sir.
rear passenger windows,
Yes, sir.
and rear quarter panel.
Yes, sir.
passenger rear quarter panel. Is there damage to the length of the passenger side where there may be paint transfers?
Yes.
State 7O is an Oscar. What side of the car is this?
That is the driver's side of the vehicle.
Do we again see some type of damage to this side of the vehicle?
Yes, sir.
Is the front driver's side tire appear to be damaged?
Yes, it does.
Is it flat?
Yes, sir.
Are there impacts noted on this side of the car from gunfire?
Yes, sir.
And is the rear driver's side window appear to be, or driver's door window, rear passenger door of the driver's side, does the window of that door appear to be affected?
It does.
Does it appear damaged?
Yes, it does.
Stage 7P is in Papa. Do you see marked damage?
I do.
Is that consistent with gunfire?
It is.
And do you see damage along the length of the car?
Yes, sir. It appears to be some type of paint transfer.
Did your investigation at the scene take you to the southern end where the entrance is located to the home to suites?
It did.
So I'm going to move to introduce states 8A through 8O.
Okay, any objection, Mr. Gonzalez?
No objection.
Mr. Sonardi?
No objection.
Mr. Wise?
No objection.
Mr. Curtis? Submitted.
Publishing states 8A is an alpha. Can you tell us what this photograph depicts?
Yes, sir. This is the very southern portion of the crime scene itself. That's depicting the front entrance and portico area of the home to suites.
During this incident, and was there video later recovered where you were able to view the actual shooting?
Yes, sir.
Was there a motor vehicle parked in this position?
Yes, sir.
Did it receive damage?
It did.
Was that motor vehicle, did your investigation reveal it was owned by an employee of the hotel?
Yes, sir. It did.
Over to the side or corner of the hotel, where I'm pointing, there is, would you agree with me, a Lexus SUV?
Yes, sir.
And around that or in front of it are numerous yellow cones.
That's correct.
Evidence markers?
They are. Yes, sir.
And are they marking items of evidence?
Yes, sir.
What were those items?
Predominantly shell casings, bullet fragments, jacketing, metal fragments.
Were there numerous shell casings found in that area?
There were. Yes, sir.
And did your investigation reveal what type of shell casings as far as what caliber?
9mm by 19.
So consistent with being fired in a 9mm handgun.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with Glock brand handguns?
Yes, sir.
Would it be consistent with ammunition that had been fired in a 9mm chambered or caliber Glock handgun?
Yes, sir.
Were those shell casings collected by the Tampa Police Department?
Yes, sir.
States 8B, B is in Bravo. In the foreground of this photograph, we see the markers you've just discussed in the back or the top of the photograph, but in the foreground, there's a marker 23. Is there more projectiles or what appear to be part of a projectile air located in that scene?
I believe so, yes, sir.
And the yellow cones that mark the areas where the 9mm shell casings, and you said maybe some projectiles?
Either projectiles or fragments of metal or fragments from the jacketing of the projectiles themselves, yes, sir.
And the fragments could be from the motor vehicles that were hit?
Yes, sir.
Glass, metal?
But I believe most of the fragments that were recovered in this area were all metal, so most likely from the sheet metal of vehicles being struck.
And those cones are extending underneath the portico?
Yes, they are, sir.
So were there items found up this close to the portico?
Yes.
States 8C. C is in Charlie. In this photograph, do we see those same cones from a different perspective?
Yes, sir.
Are some of them in front of the Lexus?
Yes, they are.
And are some of them leading into or underneath the portico?
Yes.
Now, we also see in the portico yellow tape that has been stretched across the portico.
Yes, sir.
And if we looked at the right-hand side of the photograph, there's more tape being extended out. Was this crime scene by the time you arrived, had it been secured, and was it being monitored for security purposes to keep people out of the crime scene?
Yes, it was, sir.
The crime scene tape, why is that put up?
It's a physical barrier to prevent unauthorized people from entering into the scene.
States 8D is in Delta. Did there appear to be in the scene, leading from the area of the portico, did there appear to be some deposit that was left in a streaking formation, maybe some type of liquid?
Yes, sir.
And does that liquid, does it curve around in this roadway, and is it consistent in a northerly direction up the side of the hotel?
Yes, it is.
And is it consistent all the way to the Dodge Charger?
Yes, sir. That fluid trail terminates at the final resting place of the Dodge Charger.
Did it appear to you in your investigation that the fluid was leaking from damage caused to the Dodge Charger?
Yes, sir.
Some type of automotive fluid?
Yes, sir.
Also, in this area where I'm pointing, which would be to the middle left of the photograph, there appears to be a tree. Can't really tell, maybe a live oak or a laurel oak. It sits in an area with landscape stones. Would you agree?
Yes, sir.
Now, there is a fairly good amount or deposits of those landscaping stones that are outside of the barriers of that curb.
That's correct.
In viewing the videos that were collected from the scene during the shooting, did it appear that a motor vehicle may have passed up over that curb
Yes, it did.
and may have dragged the stones off of the area?
Yes, sir.
States 8, E is an echo. What direction is this photograph or the camera pointed in?
That would be oriented your view as if you're looking to the northwest.
And were there parking spots up and down this portion of the parking lot?
Yes, sir.
Other than the shell casings that we've talked about, the 9mm shell casings, in this crime scene, were there any other types of shell casings located?
No, sir, there were not.
Any rifle shell casings?
No, sir.
Any 5.56 NATO caliber shell casings?
No, sir.
Any 223 Remington shell casings?
No, sir.
Any 300 blackout shell casings?
No, sir.
This area by the Mercedes SUV over here to the left, was this area searched for
Yes.
shell casings?
Yes, it was.
In the videos that were collected in this case, were you able to see locations of different people firing a handgun and rifles?
Yes, sir.
And were those areas where those people were seen in the video, were they searched to see if there were any shell casings in those areas?
Yes, they were.
Was this entire area searched for shell casings?
Yes, it was.
Going up towards the north, in this parking lot, along this line of parking spaces, we see a car here that's kind of faced at a slightly different direction.
Yes, sir.
Do the parking spaces start angling slowly to the north as they go around this corner here?
Yes, they do.
And it's somewhere in this area, is there a charging station?
Yes, there is.
In your investigation, did you notice that there was a Tesla motor vehicle sitting there
Yes, sir.
in that charging station?
Yes, sir.
Understand that, Mr. Harmon. Please continue questioning through Exhibit 8. When you're done with Exhibit 8, then we'll break for the evening, okay?
Yes, Your Honor. States 8F is in Foxtrot. Looking at this photograph, what are we seeing? What direction is the photograph?
So that is almost, I would say, where the last photograph was taken. However, the camera is now oriented due east across the front of the Home to Suites and portico area.
In this photograph to the lower left corner of the photograph, do we see that fluid trail that we discussed earlier
Yes, we do, sir.
associated with the Dodge Charger?
Yes, sir.
And do we see some crime scene markers,
Yes, sir.
cones? The one that we talked about earlier that was in the foreground of that earlier photograph.
Yes, sir.
This area here is the portico.
It is. Yes, sir.
Along the southern edge of the parking lot of the hotel, are there parking spots?
Yes, there are.
Along this edge, were there any motor vehicles that were affected by gunfire?
No, sir.
States 8E is an echo. Going back to this photograph, along this western edge of parking spots that run in a north-south direction, were there any vehicles that were affected by gunfire?
Yes, there were.
States 8G as in golf. Similar to the just prior photograph?
Yes, sir. Just
Yeah.
taken a couple feet to the north of that photograph.
States 8H.
Just another view, just a little bit further north, still looking east to the front door and portico area of the Home 2 Suites.
Just to the left of the Lexus motor vehicle, we see what appears to be a sidewalk. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir.
Or an area where a person can walk next to the actual hotel?
Yes, it is.
Going underneath the portico to the north side of the portico, would this area where I'm pointing, would that be the entrance to the hotel?
Yes, sir.
And we see a group of windows here to the side of that.
Yes.
Was there damage that appeared to be consistent with being caused by a firearm being fired into the window?
Yes, there was, sir.
States 8J is in Juliet. This photograph facing south
Yes, sir.
along the eastern edge of that Lexus motor vehicle.
Yes.
And do we see a more close-up view of the evidence markers marking either shell casings or other items of evidence?
Yes, sir.
States 8K, K is in kilo. Does this photograph depict a view that is viewing south-southeast?
Yes.
And do we see evidence markers inside these plants here in this planter area?
Yes, sir.
And that would be just to the east of that handicap spot where the Lexus is located.
Yeah, photo approximately taken pretty much from the same location as the previous photo, just now we're turning almost like a 45 degree angle facing south-southeast.
And in this photograph, can we see evidence markers that are extending up underneath the portico?
Yes, sir.
And then an evidence marker here on the sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
Now, this evidence marker in here, were there 9mm shell casings found in this area,
Yes, sir.
as well as this area?
Yes, sir.
States 8L is in Lima. Be fair to describe this as a camera angle facing almost directly east down the southern side of the hotel from the western side.
Yes, sir.
And there is another evidence marker that is even further east that we can now see
Yes.
in the driveway that leads into the entrance.
Yes, sir.
States 8M is in Mike, and similar to that photograph we looked at earlier, does it appear to you the camera's now been flipped and looking back to the west, southwest?
Yes, it does, sir.
And we can see all of these evidence markers in that area, same area?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, that would complete that exhibit.
Okay. All right, so the state, this does not conclude this witness's testimony, however, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so Detective Alverson, you are excused until 9 a.m. Since you've not yet been cross-examined, while we're on the overnight recess, you can't talk to anybody, including the state, about anything related to your case or your testimony.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
You're done for now. And go ahead and step down.